And what is up, guys? Robert here, bringing you another video for Robert's Roundup for Friday, August 29th, 2025. So let's get started. So the big news today is Herman Hulst talks about how live service games aren't important anymore. It's more rare now since there was a recent story about how Sony canceled the last 8 out of 10 live service games just recently. And so Herman Hulst is coming out saying that these games aren't not so important. The number of service games is not important. What is important is for having a diverse set of player experiences and a set of communities. We have since seen that put in place more rigorously and more frequently, testing in very many different ways. So the advantage of every failure is that people now understand how necessary the oversight is. And I think what's happening is we're starting to see that live service games, the budget, like you looked at Concord last year, it's been out about a year now, and Concord, so much money was put into that game, and we started to see that it failed. And I think Herman Hulst is starting to see kind of that strategy of not putting so much money into a game like this and then seeing it fail. One of the quotes he was saying in this article was like, to fail cheap, which I think is pretty good, because if you start to develop this game and then all of a sudden it's costing too much, and you see that vision that you're going to throw 100 million into this and it's not going to turn out the way you want it to, might as well just cut it now and cut your losses, versus releasing a Concord, and we all know what happened there. So I think Herman Hulst is doing a good job, and also him talking about how, you know, getting more basically creative ideas, and for the team to be able to kind of get their ideas out there and be able to, you know, pitch new games. I think what we're starting to see with live service from Sony is that they're trying to chase the trend, and I think that's what started to really, I started to see them fail a lot that way. So I think it's good to see kind of this direction going on, but Herman Hulst is kind of trying to lead it. So, but you know what, that gets me to think into the next news segment we're talking about, is that Claiir Obscur, Expedition 33, of course, you know, the big RPG game that came out this year. Well, there might be hints that Sandfall Entertainment is kind of giving maybe a sequel. Article recently this week came out saying that Claiir Obscur is the name, and going forward it's going to use that. So, you know, think of it like Final Fantasy's name, and each Final Fantasy is different. That's how Claiir Obscur is going to be. So it might not be Expedition 33, it might be Claiir Obscur something else. So it could fit in that concept. But what I like, what Sandfall Entertainment was doing, was the founder was saying that starting to write the script and things like that for the next game, and wanting to keep the team relatively around that 30 people that he had that wrote Expedition 33, as a way of being able to say, you know, keep it small, because producing a game these days can take you maybe 3 to 5 years. And so keeping it small, getting your thoughts through, writing a script and things like that, like you can see if it's not going to happen just yet, versus throwing all the money in there like what we saw with Sony do with Concord. But I think that's a good idea. Keep your team small, bounce off the success that Expedition 33 had, and keep this new Claiir Obscur game going into, you know, whatever the new sequel is going to be. Hopefully it's going to be good. I kind of think it's going to be tough to kind of have the, you know, success of what we saw with Expedition 33, but hey, you know what? Hopefully it's as good as the last game. So I'm excited to see it, but we won't know for a while. So our next story brings us into, how many of you guys like trophies? Oh, I do, of course. You know, I'm going through a series of platinum hunting, retiring from that, unfortunately, but you know, there is a user by the name of, I have to find the name again, but his name is Tim Pernat, he actually has a 99% trophy completion on the PSN network. He's number 2 in the world. What's crazy, I saw a lot of his games are from, best to worst to whatever you think of it. If it's shovelware, if it's not, he's got it all. But recently, this user ended up hitting 15,000 platinums, and he tweeted about it, about the success of hitting it. And gets me to think, I've been trophy hunting for a long time. I can't get to 15,000, so roughly you're looking maybe 3-4 platinums a day. I can't do that these days, that's why I'm retiring. But to be second in the world and at it this long, that's incredible. I looked at his trophies recently to see kind of, look at what trophies he's earned, and he's been playing some PS3 games, which is pretty awesome because, PS3 needs to survive a little bit longer than it has, almost the 20-year mark. But being able to play that, and still get platinum on the PS3 and still enjoy kind of the console, it's awesome to hear. But 15,000 platinums and a 99% completion rate. Don't know quite yet if he could get to 100, but hey, you know what? That's pretty awesome. So, trophy hunters out there, if you need any encouragement of getting the platinums, this guy's got 15,000. If you need to get to 100, just keep pushing through. Use this as your motivation. So, pretty awesome to hear. 15,000. That's a lot of trophies. That's a lot of platinums. So, yeah. And, to take a break from trophies and talking about trophy hunting, the September lineup of the PlayStation Plus games just recently got announced, and we are going to see for September Psychonauts 2, Stardew Valley, and Viewfinder. Now, from what I've been hearing, there's been a mixed bag of reception based off of these games. Some people say Psychonauts 2 is really good. Others have been talking about the Stardew Valley. I've never played it, never really heard of that game, but Psychonauts 2, the first one was fun, so I'm excited to try to get this one. But my advice is always just go, even if it's free, and you do not like the game for whatever reason, still download it. But I want to know your thoughts, like Viewfinder. I saw previews for Viewfinder, and it wasn't something that interested me, but it's free, and I'm gonna jump on board and take that and be able to get my free games in September. So I'm looking forward to that. And don't forget also that with September coming around the corner, your August games are going to be expiring next week. So make sure you jump in there, get your August games, rev up for your September games, and get through with your platinums. So that's gonna be awesome. So now, how many of you guys buy a lot of games from PlayStation Store? Find out maybe you made a wrong purchase or something like that. Well, now PlayStation has made it easier to be able to get a refund. So how to refund a game on the PlayStation Store now. So you go to PlayStation Store, you click on the 3 dots on the top right corner. The selection option reads transaction history, and then you can select one of your purchases and request a refund. So typically you can only get games refunded within 14 days, and it cannot have been recently downloaded. So so if you accidentally clicked on a purchase and you realize that you didn't want it, you can get a refund now. So it's much easier than before. From what I heard, was there was a lot of, it wasn't as easy to be able to get a refund. I guess PlayStation is now trying to model this after Steam, and so Steam has, from what I hear, really good refund policy, and I think that's what's causing PlayStation to kind of reevaluate what they've been doing to be able to say, hey, you know what, let's kind of model after that. So I think that's good. I think it's good to see, definitely be able to get a better refund if you accidentally got a game that, for whatever reason, you thought you didn't have it and you bought it and you realized you got it free for PlayStation Plus. So yeah, something like that. PlayStation's making it easier, and that's good news to hear. So I'm definitely excited to hear about that. Well, last story I bring you guys this week is Kojima actually said that he came up with the concept for Death Stranding 3. And it's kind of like what we're hearing with Uncharted 5, where kind of Uncharted 4 is done. If somebody comes up with Uncharted 5, then, hey, write the story, produce it, do what you need to do. That's kind of what Death Stranding 3 is looking at. Kojima is kind of saying he's farewell for Death Stranding 2. He kind of has Death Stranding 3 in the works, the concept, what he wants to talk about. But if somebody wants to take the reins on it, definitely take the reins on it and make it. So with the success of the first one, and now the second one recently released not too long ago, and that one's becoming popular, yeah, definitely I think somebody would want to take that on board, maybe get Kojima back in and have him produce it and get his thoughts on that. But yeah, definitely I think it's something that, if you're a fan of the series, you would want to see a third one. And who knows how long this game will keep going, but with Kojima not coming up with the concept but not making the game, do you think it would be as good as the other two? So that's something you definitely have to keep in mind when somebody else takes the reign of it. They got kind of their direction of where they want to go. So I thought that was an interesting story, and I want to leave it there. That's kind of what we're going to talk about this week for the news. And I just want to let you know, please take a look. I am in a weekly podcast, so definitely take a look at that, where we talk about gaming. I'm in a weekly podcast with Dark Knight 316, talk about gaming, culture, loot boxes here and there, but definitely weekly podcast from true gamers, trying to bring back the real discussion on gaming these days. It's a lost art, so we're hoping to do that. As well as next week, we're starting a podcast called Tackles and Takedowns, where we are going to discuss this upcoming NFL season, as well as wrestling events that are popular. So maybe SummerSlam, some of the big events that we see now, but we're going to give our thoughts on that, predictions, picks, things like that. So yeah, definitely come check it out. And I just appreciate you guys for sticking around this long and watching, and thank you so much. Please like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications. You know what to do there. And so just appreciate you guys. God bless you guys. And remember, keep gaming. Thanks, guys.